Welcome via Doretta's Lair, on behalf of the United Methodist Church here in Woodville. We're so happy to have you join my mother and I this morning. We're going to actually do an art class.
I know.
Slash reflection for dogwood season. Since we're in Tyler County,
Right.
the county of dogwoods, we thought we would talk about dogwoods, talk about what's coming up next week.
I don't know.
Well, why are you wearing that hat?
Oh, this is my Easter hat.
Your Easter hat.
I'm getting ready for Easter.
Easter's next. It's not this Sunday.
The 12th.
It's the
Easter.
following Sunday.
Right.
So in spirit of dogwood season and of Easter, we have a cool art project for you all today, and we're going to be doing some encaustic art. But before I go any further,
Can I take off my Easter hat?
you can take off your hat if you want to.
I'll practice.
But I thought we should go ahead though and introduce ourselves. I am Pastor Doretta Remy, and this is my mom,
Karen Fortenberry.
and we are happy to have you join us today. So encaustic art, what is encaustic art?
Wax.
What?
Beeswax.
Beeswax.
Melted beeswax.
So what kind of beeswax do we use?
Well, we have the color. This is yellow, of course.
We have, actually there's an assortment of beeswax that you can use. We have your plain clear beeswax, it's kind of a white clear. We have your yellow beeswax. You can also paint with colored, You can also get it in many colors and do paintings in
That's
beeswax.
awesome.
But today we're going to be basically melting beeswax over drawings that we've already done, or that you've already done.
Right. I do.
So what we're going to actually do today, or what my mom is going to do today for us, is she's going to give an example, or she's actually going to show us how to create a dogwood cross using beeswax.
Right.
And
it's
so,
fun too.
what all are you going to use today?
Well, I'm going to use this barnwood cross that I got from Hobby Lobby. Always.
That's my favorite store.
Me too.
But don't go right now. Order online.
And wait till they're on sale.
Good idea.
Okay. And then I draw my dogwoods.
So you drew those?
Yes, I did.
Well, what if people can't draw?
Well, if they can't draw, you can use photographs.
Oh, like this one I have here.
Yes.
So another thing you can do with beeswax is you can take a photograph and cut it out the shape of your cross, and you can put beeswax on top of it to give it that ghostly look.
Oh, it's awesome.
So you do not need to have any drawing skills whatsoever, but if you do, you can do a dogwood cross like this. So go ahead.
So then I cut my dogwoods out. I showed you this one. And I actually cut them out 2 more times, and so they will have depth to them.
So you mounted them on, what kind of paper is that?
Bristol, Strathmore Bristol.
So it's a real strong paper,
Right.
and you cut out like 3 layers.
Exactly.
So when you're cutting these out, especially if your kids are doing this, make sure you cut away from yourself and not toward yourself,
Exacto knives.
because that can get very dangerous in a very quick time. So before we actually move any further and talk about the rest of the equipment, I do want to say, let's talk about dogwoods.
Okay.
What is this Saturday, or what would normally be this Saturday?
The Dogwood Festival.
The Dogwood Festival of Tyler County. And boy, are we bummed because we don't get to have Dogwood Festival.
I know. It's terrible.
I hear it's postponed. I don't know if it's going to happen at a later date, but in spirit of dogwood season, let's talk about why dogwoods are so special.
And they are, aren't they?
They are.
Yes.
So, have you ever heard of the legend of the dogwood? Have you heard of it?
Of course I have.
Can you tell it to me?
From memory?
How about I read it?
I think so.
Okay. So, let me read to you the legend of the dogwood. Now, keep in mind, this is not from the Bible. It is a legend. But it doesn't mean it didn't happen. Here's how the legend reads. There is a legend that at the time of the crucifixion, the dogwood had been the size of the oak and other forest trees. So firm and strong was the tree that it was chosen as the timber for the cross. To be used for such a cruel purpose greatly distressed the tree, and our Lord nailed upon it since this, and in his gentle pity for all sorrow and suffering said to it, because of your regret and pity for my suffering, never again shall the dogwood tree grow large enough to be used as a cross. Henceforth it shall be slender and bent and twisted, and its blossom shall be in the form of a cross, 2 long and 2 short petals. And in the center of the outer edge of each petal there will be nail prints, brown with rust and stained with red. And in the center of the flower will be a crown of thorns. And all who see it will remember the legend of the dogwood.
Beautiful.
I love it. And you drew some really nice dogwoods to show an example of what we just talked about. We don't have a real dogwood, but we have an art dogwood. So if you see, it does look like a cross. It has 2 long petals and 2 shorter petals. The indentions on the petals are the nail holes, and then if you were to look real close, you'd see brown and then red. And also, if you look in the middle, the yellow part in the middle is what they're referring to as the crown of thorns. So the dogwood has really special meaning to us here in Tyler County.
Yes, it does.
And as a Christian, it especially has an awesome meaning to us to
Most
remind us
definitely.
what Christ did for us on the cross.
Exactly.
And even though we might not get all together for Easter this year, we can be unified in spirit as we go outside and look for some dogwoods. I encourage you to do that. So, are you ready to make some art?
I think so.
Well,
You'll have to help me.
I'll help you, but put on your apron first, because I know how you make a mess. All right, now we are ready to get to our art project. But before we do anything, I must caution you, if you do this at home, this is called a melting pot. You can also can you use a pot on the stove?
Yes.
You can use that, just make sure it's okay with Mom before you use any kind of any pots or pans to put your beeswax in. And all this can be found on Amazon, but I'm not getting any money from Amazon for that advertisement. Now another thing.
I'll go ahead and start.
Well, hold on. Another thing is, what are you missing on the table?
What am I missing?
Yes. One key ingredient.
I don't know.
Your blow dryer.
Oh, I don't need that till I put this
Okay.
on the first
Well,
one.
then you just let me know when you're
Okay.
ready. All right, I'll let you tell them what you're doing. So the beeswax is melted.
All right, so you just get it on your brush, and you just start brushing away. Got to get all the little petals.
So you're putting as much as you can on there, right?
Yes, and you want to, remember my dogwoods have been triple matted, so they lift up from the wood. Have to be sure you get the beeswax all in the wood that is exposed.
In the crevices.
In the crevices. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
So you get it all on there, and as it dries, it's going to look a little ugly, but it won't stay that way.
So what you're telling me is that halfway through this project, it looks ugly?
Yes, it does. It
You
looks
know,
ugly.
that kind of reminds me of how our life gets at times. We get kind of ugly looking.
Yes, we
And I'm
do.
not talking about appearances, though we can get ugly.
Yes, we can.
I digress.
Right.
But like the cross goes through an ugly phase, in life, we go through hard times, difficult times, times where we do things we're not supposed to do and we get in trouble for it. We have times in life where we're just not very good.
Right.
And
Many
luckily,
times.
you know, we as humans, we all mess up and make mistakes,
Yes,
but
we do.
because of what Christ did for us on the cross, there is redemption and forgiveness.
And we are going through most difficult times right now.
Right now is definitely probably an ugly time for us all
It is.
in this state of social distancing. Which when you're doing this project, always make sure you're the appropriate distance from your partner.
That can't be right.
Is that 6 feet? I think it is. It's good enough for now. We're in the same household. That doesn't count.
No. We're always together, so there you go. Okay, I'm getting all of this on and it's going through the ugly stage.
So what happens if I touch it right now?
Don't you dare. It'll be hot. It's very hot.
Well, will it mess up the piece if I touch it?
Not at this point.
Not at this
I'll
point.
use the dryer to get out the mess you made on my artwork.
So if you were to touch it at this point, you would leave fingerprints and all that kind of stuff. So you really don't want to touch it.
Right. Now I need the blow dryer, please. I mean the heating tool.
The heating tool.
Yes.
Now there is a difference between a blow dryer and a heating tool.
For real.
Or it's a craft dryer.
A craft dryer.
Now it looks like a
So
blow
bad.
dryer, but it is a craft dryer.
Blow dryers don't do the job.
If you use a blow dryer, you're gonna blow the wax all the way across
Oh,
the room. You could get it on stuff you don't want to. You'll get it on your neighbor. So we don't advise using a blow dryer. Not to mention they don't get hot enough. But a craft dryer gets so hot it will burn you. So make sure you do not put your hands underneath the craft dryer.
I think I need the craft dryer.
All right. So
Now.
let's plug it in.
Okay,
You
it's
hold
all covered up. You can't really see the images because they're all,
Well, look,
Wow.
let me show them.
it won't live.
It will.
Don't mess up my art piece.
So if you see the cross and it's even
Oh.
dripping, the cross is kind of it's blurry and just doesn't look very pretty. Well,
Not
that's
at all.
that's the ugly state that we're in right now, where it's just life is really just kind of blah.
Right now, it really is.
But what happens on Easter?
Jesus Christ arose
He arose from the dead, and he cleans us
to
all up.
save
doesn't he?
all of us, clean us up, give us hope.
Well, I have hope that you're going to turn that into something that actually
Well,
looks
I'm
good.
starting to
So,
wonder that myself.
so let's get to it. Let's see what you can do with that craft dryer.
Okay, you can maybe explain.
Now, the craft dryer does not make much sound. I like that part.
Me too.
But as I said, don't put your hand under there or you will get burned.
I may have put too much wax.
Well,
I was really into
quit
it.
brushing it and just
I do it this way. Let me do it the way
You do it.
I am. Just because you taught me doesn't mean I didn't learn a few things on my own. So you just have to keep kind of moving.
We really came up with this whole project by accident. One day we were sitting making regular art, and I said, what if we took some of that beeswax you bought and didn't know what to do with and melted onto a cross? How many crosses later, how many crosses have you made?
probably 20. I've sold probably 20 of these.
So she has sold 20 of these crosses since we discovered this technique, and I have yet to see any of that profit. Just saying.
I understand. And you're not going to see any profit either.
The profit is the pure enjoyment of melting the wax
That's very
and
true.
spending time with those you love.
And we do spend a lot of time together.
It's amazing that we don't kill each other.
It's amazing. We still want to spend time with each other.
Well, at this point, we have no choice.
I know. I would go crazy.
So if you were to look close at this, you would see as it melts, the dogwoods actually come into better view.
I've got to get more intense with this now and try to smooth out the bubbles.
So the wax,
Makes the heating.
the wax creates these bubbles, and so you want to keep heating it until the bubbles dissolve and it goes real smooth, like it looks like glass. You want it to look like glass.
And some of this I'm trying to blow off, and it will drip down the sides, but I will be able to clean that up with one of our special tools over there after it dries. So I've got to really work with this.
It's coming out really nice.
I think it is.
And I mean it.
I know. Thank you. You're very kind.
So even though we don't get to have our Dogwood Festival this coming Saturday, we can celebrate the being out in nature, being out in God's great creation.
And knowing that we are celebrating Easter, even if it's not in our local churches, Easter is something that always happens. Doesn't matter. Easter is always with us. Christ is always with us.
And it'd be neat to do an art project like this, because years from now, we're gonna look back at this time and be like, remember when there wasn't any toilet paper?
Our kitchen papers.
And you will look back at your art project and be like, I remember that time very well.
All right, let me get a little, what do you think?
Now that is looking really good. It's looking almost just like glass.
It is. That's the,
Which
this is the
that's
fun
what you
part.
want. You want it to look like glass.
Get a little of that. Got to get a, you have to get, or I have to bend down to see if I get all the bubbles. It will create bubbles. Just keep the heat on each petal, and you will eventually, this is where you smooth it. All with this heating tool.
Heating tool, craft tool. It's a craft dryer.
All right, whatever.
Just using correct terminology.
I have no words.
I don't either.
I know. Now, I think it's really starting to come together.
I think that looks great.
You think I should stop? I think I will stop because the cool thing is...
Right in there.
Alright, okay.
Oh yeah, see,
Like
that's
that?
better, yes.
What
that's
about
much better.
there?
Yeah, right there.
Okay. I was going to say, the wonderful thing about this is I can stop right now and come back to it later. And if I see things that don't look quite right
Or like there's a part that doesn't have wax or doesn't have enough wax, so you can go back and paint more wax on?
Right, I can leave it 2 days and come back.
And add more wax.
Heat it up, and when I heat this up again, I'll be right back where I started.
And you just continue to melt it till it turns to glass. And then once it comes to a state where you really like how it looks, then we have a trick for cleaning up the edges.
Okay.
Because during this process, the wax has gone onto the table.
All around, so that's okay.
So when you rip it off the table, you're gonna have gobs of wax
Exactly.
on the underside of the cross. But
Be sure to cover up your table.
we have a solution for that, and that's called a craft iron.
Oh, this is so cool. A craft iron, it looks like a little baby iron.
Now, just like the craft blow dryer here, the
It's
craft
not a
dryer,
blow dryer.
the craft dryer, just like the craft dryer, we have the craft iron, and the craft iron can really burn you bad.
Yeah, I have burned myself. It's
Me
really
too.
bad.
So please be careful and use all caution when using this tool. So let's hold that.
I don't want to do it on here yet.
Oh, you're not ready?
No, I won't be ready till tomorrow. We're just showing you this, not going to use it.
Yeah, but you can still show
I-
it and
you
come
can do
back.
it. You do it.
Okay. I'll demonstrate.
And don't mess it up. I can go back over it though if she does.
We take a time out as the ambulance goes by.
And pray for whoever it might be.
All right. Well, we'll switch positions.
Oh, go. I'll stand right. Oh, you're left-handed.
All right. So you turn your craft iron on until it gets really hot. And actually, so the cross is really stuck right now. And so a good way to actually unstick it is with this craft iron. You
It
can.
takes it a minute.
I know, I'm impatient.
Did you turn it on?
It's on, the light is on.
I know, but I forgot to turn it on one time. And waited forever for it to get hot.
You're not supposed to tell that kind of thing.
Well, it's true.
So here's what you do when you're completed and you have the cross like you want it, and you gotta get it off the table. So you get your craft iron, and this is actually, what kind of paper?
Freezer paper.
Freezer paper. So, cause you don't want a regular paper that's gonna burn on you. So you take your craft iron and you kind of rub it on that wax. And it is actually releasing the cross. There it is, it's released. So if you turn it over, you
will
have
use-
a ugly mess.
It's pretty
so-
bad.
With this craft iron, you can
Don't
just,
mess it up. It's not hot enough.
it's getting there.
Did you turn it on?
It is on, we went through this.
I know. It's not hot.
It's just
I
about.
told you. You never listen to your mother.
Okay, so now it's starting to work. So basically you just start going over the wax with your craft iron. Dump those pieces off. And you just smooth it out. And that wax will melt as the iron does get hotter, it will melt.
But don't finish because I'm not through with
Well,
it.
you can always go back and start at the beginning and add more wax.
I don't want to start at the beginning.
So that
You're
just
making me
shows you,
nervous.
we're doing this for the public.
Okay. Still making me nervous.
But anyway, so to finish up your cross, you do want to clean these edges with the craft iron, and also you can smooth out these edges as well, and make them as smooth as you want them. And the iron just smooths it right up. And so when you're done, we're gonna pretend like I had melted all of it. When you're done,
And there's adjustments that I will make
you
tomorrow.
have your beeswax dogwood cross.
And you actually will buff it with a very,
A very like a cloth you use to clean your glasses.
yes.
So
And
I
it will just
actually have one of those. So let me show an example of that. Pardon me. We'll use this one that I created last year. And when your wax is completely dry, you take a little cloth like what you would use to clean glasses, and you just buff it. And the more you buff it, the shinier the surface gets. But you can't do this part until your wax is completely cooled off and dry. And you just buff it up, and then it has a shine to it.
They are gorgeous.
So this is the
It's
actual.
addictive, people. It is addictive.
This is
working with
the
beeswax.
this is the final step. So don't do this part till you're completely done with the melting.
And it's totally dry.
That's
Like
right.
a whole day, or maybe 2.
And one last tip is once you're done, don't be putting your fingers all on it because they will leave fingerprints. But if you do that, as someone does on occasion, you can take your craft dryer and smooth out the wax all over again.
Thank goodness.
So you can always keep working with it. But this is a fun project to do.
It is.
It can be very addictive, especially you can smell that honey, might make you hungry. But that's our
I love
art.
honey.
Yes, that's our art project for you all today. We're so glad that you came and joined us in the studio, and we hope to do this again sometime soon, hopefully with the public. That's our prayer anyway. Thank you all, and have a good stay-at-home Easter.
God bless.